of course, it's up to these companies to make their own decision about the content on their platforms and to ensure content follows their own standards and policies. But I'm just not going to comment on a decision that was made during the campaign.
That was White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday dodging a question on why the Biden campaign was telling Twitter what to do, that the Hunter Biden laptop was hacked material when we all know it was not, and the FBI knew better. This as Twitter chief Elon Musk is telling Jack Dorsey some of the most important data was kept hidden from the company's former top boss. House Republicans are now preparing to take legal action against former Twitter lawyer James Baker, who was fired from the company for suppressing the Twitter files. Joining me right now is Washington Examiner political and investigative reporter Sarah Westwood. Sarah, great to have you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. This Twitter story is unreal. What are you expecting from Elon Musk next? And what about this comment here that things were destroyed and deleted before Elon Musk showed up?
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, you see, this is, keep in mind, what we have from the Twitter files so far is information that was vetted by Jim Baker, who's closely allied with the Biden administration, with Democrats. So this is sort of a sanitized version of the truth, what we have so far. I don't think it's surprising that potentially some material damaging to Twitter would have been destroyed, because look at the lengths that Twitter executives were willing to go to suppress the Hunter Biden story. It was clear that they wanted to take this story off the air. They didn't want it to get any amplification. And so then they went in search of some sort of justification that would allow them to justify something they already wanted to do, which is to suppress that story. I mean, they moved the goalpost so many times as to why they couldn't disseminate that information. First, as you mentioned, like, it was hacked material. We know that wasn't true. They said it was potentially disinformation. So was it real and stolen off the laptop, or was it fake and planted from Russia? They said it couldn't be independently verified because only the New York Post at that time had access to the laptop. So they gave every excuse in the book to try to suppress it. And eventually, you know, they were exposed as being incredibly partisan.
Well, I mean, look, there's no surprise here. We've seen this story before, right, around Jim Baker. He is the guy who was pushing the Russia collusion lie. There were absolutely no consequences for what they did. They knew there was no evidence of collusion, and yet they still pursued FISA warrants against Trump officials, and they never saw any consequences for it. So why wouldn't he do it again? The arrogance of it, to leave the FBI pushed out because of all of that, and then go to Twitter and do the same thing, lie to the American people. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think that's the frustrating thing for a lot of Republicans, conservatives watching this, is that this, you know, confirms what they had suspected all along about Twitter. If you sort of expressed the view that Twitter was partisan, in a partisan manner, suppressing this story to help Biden, that was sort of painted as a conspiracy theory. And now we're seeing hard evidence that that was true, but also that, like you mentioned, there's no consequences for people who are repeatedly at the center in this sort of action, politicizing institutions that hold themselves up to be nonpartisan and unbiased. That's a really frustrating thing, I think, for a lot of conservatives.
Joe Concha.
Sarah, are you surprised as an actual reporter to see those who play the role of reporter on Twitter, but they're actually activists, going after Matt Taibbi in the way they are? Because Matt Taibbi has a resume that is unmatched by most of these folks that are criticizing, yet Elon Musk chose him to go through these documents and report back what he saw. Are you surprised at the criticism of Matt Taibbi, or is this just another day at the office for many of these folks from NBC and the Daily Beast, for example?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the, you know, mainstream media reporters have no problem eating their own if they cross the party line. And Matt Taibbi has been the target of that kind of criticism for a while. He was a really interesting choice for Elon Musk to hand over the Twitter files to. He's someone who was, you know, a classically liberal writer for years. And he sort of stayed in the center of, you know, the small L liberalism, freedom of speech, you know, pushing back against the power of corporations, while the rest of the Democratic Party sort of shifted to back elitism and corporate power and the consolidation of government power and corporate power in these really concerning ways, like we're seeing with Twitter, colluding with the FBI, with the Biden administration, to suppress stories about COVID, about Democrats that are unfavorable. You know, Matt Taibbi has been a consistent critic of that back when it was fashionable with liberals, and now that it's out of fashion, it's not surprising to see people who hold themselves up to support free speech squashing Matt Taibbi's actual support of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, these are political operatives at these companies. They worked in the Obama administration. Then they all got high-paying jobs at the likes of Twitter, Google, Facebook. But Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is all in on President Biden and running in 2024. He's giving the president credit for the Democrats' midterm performance and says that Biden would be a boost in 2024. Watch this.
So I think, President Biden being on the ticket, if he runs, and if he runs, I'll support him, it would be very, very helpful.
So it's helpful, Sarah. What do you think?
I think Republicans should hope that that's the takeaway Democrats have from the election, right? Democrats didn't win because of Joe Biden. They won in spite of him. And after 2 more years in which gridlock is likely to keep anything else from getting done, meaningful to address inflation, meaningful to address crime at the federal level, those are things that are not going to get done under Biden's watch. I think that frustration is only going to grow. And if Republicans are able to put up sort of a new blood candidate, a younger face, a fresher face, that would be a really powerful foil against Biden, who is very much represents the old guard and is deeply unpopular and is likely only to get more so between now and 2024.
Do we know who that young face is? Who are you referring to?
I mean, you can take a wild guess. I mean, there's a few of them. There's one down in Florida I think Republicans would be happy with.
Oh, Republicans. No, I thought you said Democrats. A young face.
Oh, no. That would be a powerful foil against Biden if Republicans could put that fresh face up against him because he is old. He represents a part of the Democratic Party that is ancient.
Ron DeSantis is 44, I think, right? In his 40s.
I'd like to see that.
Sarah, it's good to see you. Thanks very much. Sarah Westwood joining us this morning. We'll keep following all of that.